been having some thoughts about this Civil War issue, some concepts, some things I've learned over the years from studying books about war and books from soldiers that were in combat, different wars down through the years. Mostly the Vietnam War is what I've read a lot of. Different soldiers. I was in high school, we were required to read, I think it was Rumors of War by Philip J. Caputo or something, I think was the name of the book. But it was quite shocking, and kind of sparked an interest in me to study the issue of war and combat. And of course I've studied the Civil War as well, and what really led up to it and whatever else, the issue of states' rights and things. But the thing that impressed me about the Civil War was the level of hatred that was there between the North and the South. And that hatred was so strong that it still exists even today. You still get people from down south that have a grudge against you if you're from the North. And I don't really know of a whole lot of that up north here, although there's probably some prejudice towards people from the South if you have a Southern accent or something. But I mean, that hatred that was there, it was very deep and very powerful. And that's why you had brother fighting brother back in the Civil War. You had some family that the boys grew up, one moved up north and the other stayed down south, or vice versa, moved down south and one stayed up north. And they were on the other side, gray over there, so the Confederate gray, and the Union blue over this way. And this is the no man's land in between, and they're shooting at each other. And my brother's over on that side. Well, he shouldn't be on that side. He shouldn't be over there. You know what? If my round ball goes over there and hits my brother, well, that's his problem. And you know what? That hatred exists today. I see that there are a lot of people that they're very much divided over the political issues. And quite frankly, when the Civil War gets started here in America, it's going to be that same level of hatred. So that's point number one that I'd like to make about that. And again, as a Christian, as a preacher, is there some way we can turn this back? Well, historically, no. When a country is so divided, even the Lord talked about a house that's divided against itself will not stand. It will fall. And that's where America's at right now. America is a house, a nation that is divided. So if I were to say no, that's not true, then I'd be rejecting the words of Jesus Christ. And that's the spiritual, even the physical, the temporal, if you want to say it that way. Every nation will go through this time of purification. Historically, that's the way it's always been. People get so divided and they start to say, well, we don't agree with these people. Well, we don't agree with you. And pretty soon you have war. The old saying goes, when men run out of words, they reach for their swords. Yeah. And I've seen that over the years. You used to be that I would get into conversations with people of different belief systems, and you could corner them with the scriptures and show them that they're wrong, and they'd kind of get quiet and say, well, I don't know, I'll have to think about that. But now it's like they've learned all the ways to answer, and you try to argue with people, and they take their stands, and you can even if you prove them wrong, they take their stand, and they're not going to budge one bit. And science comes out and shows that a lot of the woke movement is wrong, that it's failing, and a lot of the other modern movements, that they're wrong, and you can prove that they're wrong, scientifically prove that they're wrong, but the people don't care. They don't care about the truth. Just take the government here, the Federal Reserve, and they come out and they say, we have inflation at 3%. I don't know why anybody would believe that. That's insanity. Inflation's not 3%. You look back at the cost of groceries just even before the pandemic, 2019, the cost of groceries has skyrocketed. The cost of insurance, the cost of, name it. everything's going way up. So, I mean, you'll get some little dips here and there with deflation and inflation and whatever will go up and down a little bit, but it's trending, worse. But hatred is part of the thing that creates civil war. And there's a lot of hatred right now in America. And it's not just all the radical white Anglo-Saxon Protestants like me, that we're the ones fomenting hatred and we're the racists and whatever. No, there's a lot of racism on the other side as well, on the left. And a lot of people that are not content to let people like me practice my beliefs. And, just even the thing of eating meat. You shouldn't be allowed to eat a certain amount of meat anymore because it's bad for the environment or something like this. It's craziness. Absolutely crazy. They want to control how I live my life. Make me give up my ancestral ways and my culture and my beliefs and everything else. It's not happening. So what are the options? Well, war. That's the only option. But show you the next point here. The second concept that I want to talk about is the concept of a righteous cause. Whenever you have warfare, one of the best motivating factors is a righteous cause. Down here in the town of Patten right now, the old garage here at our office that needs to be torn down. And I'll spin around here in a minute. You'll be able to see that down here where the backhoe used to be, right in this area right here, it's not there anymore. Gave it to a neighbor. A farmer in the area wanted it. Asked if I wanted to sell it, and I said, I'll give it to you. I don't know if it runs or not. Could be completely ruined or whatever else, so you can have it. So I let a farmer have it in the area. And they had quite an ordeal getting it out of here because it didn't run. So they had to drag it up through and get it up through the yard here, up through the hill and everything. But anyhow, getting back to what I was saying, the idea of a righteous cause. If you're going to have war, if you are going to have some kind of a fight of some kind of civil war, the side that will win will be that one that has a righteous cause. And you'd be surprised how many men become, they go from being atheists to praying to God very quickly when it comes to war, because you realize that all the different training and all the different stuff that you have that you thought that you could rely on, it all goes away when the bullets are flying and when people are dying. And you start to think about where am I going to go when I die? And things get very real very quickly. And so a righteous cause, if you have a military that believes that they have a righteous cause in what they're doing, then you will have a good morale and you'll have courage built. They think that we're doing what God wants us to do, we're doing the right thing. That righteous cause will lead to good morale and building of courage in battle. God is on my side, God is my protector. That's an important thing. You cannot have a good, strong, atheistic military. That just leads to problems. Secondly, it points towards a good future after the war is over. A righteous military says we're going to bring in a good system. We're going to bring things, once we win, once we defeat the bad guys, well, then we're going to have a good future for you out there. A good thing for your family, your wife and your children back home. We'll make things good for them. An unrighteous army isn't going to do that. It's just a matter if we need to kill and we need to do this genocide or whatever else. That's not a righteous cause. And thirdly, it inspires discipline and cohesion. A righteous cause is needed to have discipline in the military. If you just have everybody does what they want and whatever else, and you can just whatever you feel, if it feels good, do it kind of a thing, it doesn't inspire discipline. Discipline is inspired by men believing in what they're doing, and also believing that their leaders have a closer connection to God than they do, or at least have I'm supposed to submit to this man because he really understands what he's doing. He's caring for my soul. He wants us to win. Okay. Again, that will lead to a victorious army. So here in America, you have the conservative right wing people, and they're saying we want our country back, the godly nation that we once had, a nation that respected the Bible, a nation that was built on Christian values and ethics. Not saying everybody was saved, certainly not. Not saying every founding father was saved, of course not. But the whole thing is, it is impossible to rightly govern without God and the Bible. That was a concept that was here in America. And so a righteous army in this coming civil war is going to want that and say, we want a good system in the future for our children and our children's children. We want our children to be taught the 10 Commandments, that they're not to steal or lie or things like that. Honor their parents. That's a good thing. But an unrighteous army, the liberal left, says we want to just continue to push the envelope of what has been acceptable. We show through our actions that we actually hate God. We hate the way that God made us. God made you to be a woman. No, he didn't. I'm non-binary. God made you to be a man. No, he didn't. He made me to be a feminine fruitcake. No. See, a good, righteous cause is necessary in a civil war. And the left right now, the city people, a lot of the people in the cities, they don't have that righteous cause. They have a very unrighteous cause, which I'll talk about next. Alright, now we're in the town of Holton, and behind me here is an old abandoned Burger King. Went out of business in 2020 when the pandemic thing started. You can see some of the prices. I have no idea how much they've changed over the years. I don't eat Burger King, but I just got out of Martin's over here. I'll show you the Martin's store. Of many people know it here in the state of Maine. If you know the jingle, the Martin's jingle, put it in the comment section below. I should have what? Put it in the comments below if you know what I'm talking about. But the third concept for the coming civil war is an unrighteous cause. I talked about righteous cause back in Patten, but what about an unrighteous cause for a civil war? The people that say they want to destroy what this nation once stood for, what America used to be. Kind of ironic, this used to be America here behind me, but it's not anymore. But people come along and they say, we're not happy with the way America is. There's too much white privilege. There's too much Christian concept type of stuff around, and we want to tear that down. We want to destroy that. You're not going to do very good, because a unrighteous cause is self-destructive. First point there against it, it's very self-destructive. People come out with all this stuff of we have to overthrow this, and we hate this, and we hate that, and it's very self-destructive, is what it is. Basically, it comes with a philosophy that the strongest survive. You have people that they're filled with hatred, and they basically come out and they destroy other groups and things, and we don't agree with this group, we don't agree with that group, and then they just destroy things. It's very self-destructive. A good example of this, what I'm talking about, would be communist Russia. Communist Russia was very self-destructive, and Stalin got to the point where he was turning so many people against other people and other groups, destroy this group, when that one's gone we'll destroy another one, that the guy was living in a house in the middle of nowhere, having all of his food tested and everything for poison. And what a terrible life. What an absolutely terrible life. And of course, because there's no righteous cause, it leads to more future wars. That's what it does. More fighting, more division. If you have a righteous cause for a nation, you say we need to get rid of the evil and the violent people that hate America. Well, what's the end of that? Go back to the old America, back to the way things used to be before people started messing the country up. If, on the other hand, you have an unrighteous cause in a civil war, what are you going back to? What are you going to, I should say? You don't go back to anything. You want to change the country. So what do you go to? You go to a nation that is just filled with violence. And one regime takes over another regime, and another regime takes over that regime, and they just fight all the time. You see that in the Old Testament, in the Bible. A lot of times the wars that were fought in the Old Testament, they weren't righteous. and one family takes over another family and they kill all the other members, and then they live for a little while and they're worshiping idols and graven images and everything else, and then they take over, and then another nation or another family comes to power, and then they take over and they kill all the other people. It's unrighteous. It's a terrible thing. So that's another reason why I think that this coming civil war, what the left want, the communists and socialists and everything else with their universal basic income and all their other satanic agenda, they're going to fail. They're not going to make it because they don't have a righteous cause. Which brings me to my fourth point. Civil war is a lot like a loose tooth. It's a bit of a pain. You can put up with it for a while, but you eventually have to pull it out. And it's painful, and that's just the way that it is. Behind me here's the Hannaford store we just came out of. I don't go to Walmart, but Walmart's a big problem for this nation. Helped to destroy this country with all of the made in China garbage, putting so many different American companies out of business. Very anti-American company. Very wicked people that own it, the Walton family. Very evil people. But, coming in with the guise of, we care about America while destroying America. Yeah, nice. But the fact of the matter is that a nation that goes the way America is going, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of suffering in this country. And if people think that we're going to somehow come out of it without pain, without any removal of the tooth, so to speak, that's not going to happen. It just simply isn't. America is going to have the tooth removed. I dealt with that many years ago. I had a loose tooth, and right down in here, right there, and it was just loose, and it just would move around a little bit, and it just, I'll deal with it, and dealt with the pain for a long time. Finally, I just had enough, and I ripped it out myself. No pain medication or anything else. So that was very painful, extremely painful. I didn't want to do that again after I did it. Not much fun, but you know what? It felt really good when it was done. Which brings me to my fifth point. All right, well, we made it back to the office here in Patten, and I want to talk about the fifth concept for the coming Civil War. This one is the science of guns and ammunition. What do I mean by that? Well, if you've been around firearms for any length of time, you understand that there's a lot of debate within the firearms community. What is the best handgun, self-protection type of thing, caliber to carry? 9mm, 45, 40 caliber, 357 Magnum. Should you have a revolver? Should you have a automatic type of pistol, semi-auto? 1911 versus Glock, the whole thing. And then, of course, in the rifle world, you have the 5.56 versus 7.62 by 39, the AK round, or 7.62 by 51, the 308. And there's a lot of debate back and forth. And quite frankly, most of the people that debate it never end up using anything. Or if they do, it's just an isolated incident. Some kind of a bad guy comes along and you have to deal with them and deal with the threat, and it's over. But the other thing is, when it comes to calibers and things like that, the military, the standard round for the military is 5.56, which is .223. You might not understand any of this if you're not into firearms, but the whole point of that round, that caliber, most World War I, World War II, they were using 30 caliber. In the beginning part of Vietnam, they were also using 30 caliber, be it 30-06 or 308. And then they switched over to the small 22 caliber 5.56 round. And the idea was there to injure the enemy and not necessarily kill, because it's harder to take care of an injured enemy than it is to take care of a dead one. And but in a Civil War situation, you're not dealing with that. You're not dealing with two different armies of men that have been trained professionally and whatever else. In a Civil War, you are dealing with the coming Civil War. I'm talking first Civil War. They did have some, the calibers were very similar, but in the coming Civil War, with what's going to happen, I believe, here in America, that a lot of the talk is going on, it's going to be a situation where one side's going to wipe out the other side. They want to wipe them out, not injure them. And so again, that's going to lead to some really weird situations, we'll say. And depending on where you're at, depending on how things go, the other thing is going to be what the Bible calls going to warfare at your own charges. In other words, you have to pay for it. If civil law and order breaks down and whatever else, people are going to have to pay for their own weapons, for their own warfare. So that's going to be a whole other issue. The point of this whole video, in other words, is there's a lot that's coming that's facing America, especially as we see this country breaking down, as we see things really starting to fall apart. And it's going to be a time where we're going to really have to rely on the Lord for what's about to happen to this nation. And unfortunately, like I said, there is no way around it that I can see. I mean, the catching up of the body of Christ could happen, or something before it really gets underway, or it could happen during it, and that'd be kind of the way they would cover it up. What happened to the people, that certain people disappeared or whatever. No idea. You can come up with those theories, but I believe that it's wanted now. They're trying all this propaganda through Hollywood, try to get people thinking in the direction of civil war. Because, there's no foreign country that's going to take over America. It's not about to happen. So the only way to take down America is from within. Anybody can figure that out. So I would say the best thing to do is to get yourself in really good shape. If you have no garment, if you have no sword, then sell your garment and buy a sword, if you know what I mean. You say, well, where I'm at, we can't have firearms, brother. Okay, well then you might want to consider getting a real sword or some other type of defense. I want you to think about it. Right now, if I'm standing here in my driveway like this and some bad guy starts to come up here, pulls up, gets out, starts to run at me, what would I want? Well, I'm going to want something to stop that threat. I'm not going to just want to say, okay, well, I'll try to take him on with my hands or something. Hand-to-hand combat. No thank you. Especially if the guy's on drugs or if he's got a weapon himself. You want to have things that you can do. And, I'm just talking plainly, because the time will come when it's going to be too late to prepare for this. And I really, honestly, I do not think that Christians should be praying against it. I don't think that Christians should be saying, Lord, please help it never to go to war or something. If there's no war and this country is not restarted, the evil and the perversion is going to get worse and worse. Up there in Holton just not long ago, and I showed you in the Hannaford parking lot, there's a freak that works there at the cash registers now, and just absolutely disgusting. Some kind of transgendered thing or whatever else, and it's only going to get worse. So that whole thing has to stop. It really does. And the only way around it is what this country has coming, and that is war. So if you're younger, make sure that you have some way to protect yourself, defend yourself, and get yourself in good shape. That's going to be very important. And spiritually as well. I have something on my hat there. Oh, no, it's just a symbol. Vehicles right now are so dirty from all the roads and the junk on the roads, so you get it on your pant leg, and then you get it on your fingers, and you get it on your hat. But Christians have had to fight down through the centuries, brethren. It's not anything new. There isn't any kind of a shocking thing that, oh no, we have to fight now or whatever else. We've had to do it before, and we'll have to do it again. And you can take a pacifist type of approach and say, well, I'll just let the Lord protect me, or I'll die for the Lord, or whatever else. You can do that. Or you can say, you know what, I'm going to fight against this evil, and I'm not going to be okay with it. I'm done. If you're in a bad situation, a bad city area or whatever else, do what you can to get away from there. Again, read the book of Acts. Christians were moving. Christians were not just a stationary. They had the Holy First Baptist Church in Antioch or First Baptist Church in Jerusalem, and they never left. No, they left. They got out of there. The whole church was scattered abroad many times. And if you're in a bad situation, a bad area, you might have to leave. You might have to move from there. So, some very serious things to think about, brethren. But I feel compelled to say some things about some of these type of subjects. So, hopefully I've made some good points, give you some things to think about. Rough times ahead, brethren, but yet in rough times there are good times. Remember that, because when things get bad, you can show that the Lord is protecting you. And so, I forget how the saying goes, something about bad times create good men, good times create bad men, or something like that. Or, it's more to it than that, but there's a lot of truth to that whole thing. So, bad times can create very good people that all of a sudden understand their need for the Lord. So, I guess that will be it. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the upcoming videos.